If you need some coins for the Trophy Titans promo, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a nice 5% discount. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated 4-2-3-1 narrow custom tactics and player instructions for you. But just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop this video a thumbs up, as that does really help me out with the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay guys, so starting off with the custom tactics, for the defensive style I like to have this on balance. This is because it gives you the greatest control over your defense, where you're able to press when you need to press and you're also able to drop off and be a little bit more conservative and passive when you need to be. So balance does give you the greatest control when you are defending. Now moving on to the defensive width guys, I'm currently just using this on 40. This is so we can primarily defend in a narrow shape so we can block all those attacks through the middle, but we've still also got enough width to cover the wider areas when somebody tries to attack down the wings. So that is why we have our width on about 40. You guys can change that a little bit if you want to. It's nothing specific. Now moving on to the depth guys, I'm kind of just using this on 60 at the moment. I kind of vary between like 55 and 65. That's the range I will use. At the moment I'm kind of just going for something in the middle with 60 so we can win the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, because I don't really want to get pinned back all the time. But we also don't have the depth too high to the point where, you know, the defensive line is really high and we're always getting through balls. So 60's just been nice and balanced, but anywhere between like, I don't know, 55 and 65 is kind of what I'd call the sweet spot, but it's up to you guys really. Now moving on to build-up play guys, I do suggest using balanced. This is just because it is the most suited for all types of FIFA 23 gameplay you might experience. As you guys know, if you play this game a lot, FIFA 23 gameplay is very inconsistent. FIFA gameplay has been inconsistent for many years. Sometimes you can have fast gameplay, other times you can have really slow and sluggish gameplay. So balanced is just the most suited for all of the types of gameplays you might experience. Something like fast build-up is very good when the gameplay is responsive, because you're able to keep up with all of the movements that are going on. But when the gameplay is too slow or your inputs are lagging, fast build-up is just too quick for you. It's impossible to make it work. So balanced is just the most consistent in my opinion. Now moving on to chance creation guys, I suggest using direct passing. This is because it makes your attacking players bunch up against the defenders, so you can do those really overpowered isolation plays, which makes it very easy to create the goal scoring chances. Players also make that extra movement in the box, so you can get that extra pass off to guarantee the goals. So direct passing is just the most meta option. If you don't like direct passing, you can use something like forward runs. This will push your team very far into the opponent's half, but just be wary. If you do use this, when you lose the ball, you can become very prone to counter attack. So I do suggest direct passing, but you can use forward runs if you want. Now moving on to the attacking width, this isn't really a specific number. I'm kind of just using this on 43 at the moment. The reason for this is I don't want my width to be super high, otherwise the formation plays like a 4-2-3-1 wide, and if I wanted that I would just use the wide variation. And likewise I don't want the width to be like super low, otherwise our players feel like they're sat on top of each other. So I'm kind of just going for something in the middle with 43 width, so we've still got a like nice narrow shape, but it's not too narrow either. Now moving on to players in box, I'm just using this bang in the middle on 5 at the moment. This is so we can get some players into the box to create those chances, but we don't overcommit the entire team to the point where we get counter-attacked, so we've just got a nice balance there. Moving on to corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because there is a corner kick routine that I use which requires both of these to which requires both of these to be on 1. There is a link to that in the top right hand corner of the screen. Now for the players you want to use guys, in the striker position, because this is a 1 striker formation, I do suggest you going for a nice well-rounded striker. This is because you have to compensate for the fact that there is 1 striker instead of 2 in this formation. So just go for somebody very well-rounded that can do a bit of everything, somebody that can dribble, shoot, pass, shoot in either foot. Just go for somebody that is nice and well-rounded, because you have to make up for the fact that there's 1 striker instead of 2. So I just suggest going for like a nice balanced player. Moving on to the central cam, I suggest using a nice technical player. This is somebody that is obviously going to be able to turn very well, maintain good control of the ball, somebody that's got decent passing and shooting. You just need somebody that is pretty much good in that all-round attacking game. You're not going to want to use somebody that is super clunky and can't pass, otherwise you're going to find it difficult to create any chances. Now moving on to the right right cam and the left cam, the ram, lamb, whatever you want to call them, I suggest you guys using good winger style players. These are players with good pace, good skill moves, good dribbling, good shooting ability and good crossing ability. You need them to be very good in their attack. If they lack the dribbling or they lack the pace, you're going to struggle because these are the main outlets of the team. Moving on to the left CDM, I suggest a more defensive minded CDM. This is somebody that is going to stay back and break up the play. So if you can get it, a medium high work rate is super beneficial on this player, so they get the maximum contribution in defense and they're not too bothered about going forward. But don't stress too much about the work rates if you can't get them. Just go for somebody that is a very good defensive midfielder. Moving on to the right CDM, I go for a more box-to-box style player. This is somebody that's going to be able to attack and defend for us. So if you guys can get like a high work rated player in this position, that is probably ideal, so you get the maximum contribution in attack and defense. But if you can't get that, just go for somebody with like a very well-rounded card so they can do a bit of everything for you. Now moving on to the fullbacks, I like to go for a balance between the two. I have Roberto Carlos, who's my more attacking minded fullback. This is somebody that's not going to be scared to join the attack and contribute for us. And then I've got Cafu, who's a bit more defensively sound but maybe lacks that attacking ability going forward. I just like to have that balance between the two. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can get them, really. There's not too much to say about them. Moving on to the player instructions, guys. On the striker, I suggest having him on stay central. This is so he's not drifting off into the wide areas, because we do need him to be in those central areas, especially since he is our only striker. So having him on stay central ensures that he will always be in the correct positions. I also suggest having him on mixed attack instead of getting behind, because if you put him on getting behind, it can feel very one-dimensional. They're always looking for through balls and it just makes your attack, very predictable. Mixed attack gets your striker more involved in the build-up too, so stay central, mixed attack on the striker. Now moving on to the central cam, we just have him on stay forward. The reason for this is when we lose the ball, it just means he's going to sit a little bit higher up the pitch, so if we do win it back, we've got somebody that is an outlet, somebody that will help us get up the pitch other than the striker. So it is just very beneficial when you win the ball back to get the attack started again. Now moving on to the right cam and the left cam, we have them both on get into the box for cross. This is so they're not hesitant to get involved in the penalty area, because if you have them on balance crossing runs, sometimes they're very static when you get to the penalty area and they don't really do a lot. So get into the box for cross, super important for getting the most out of these wide players. Moving on to the left CDM, the more defensive minded player, we have him on stay back while attacking, cut passing lanes and cover centre. The reason we do this is because he is our more defensive minded player, so we do want him to stay back. We have him on cut passing lane, so he's always looking to break up the play, and we also have him on cover centre, so he's always covering those central areas. We don't really want him to cover the wide areas, as we've already got multiple players on each side to do that. Now moving on to the more box to box style player, we have him on completely default settings and cover centre. Now we have him on the default settings because we want him to do a bit of everything. We don't really want to restrict this player, so default settings are the best for him. Likewise, we have him on cover centre, so he is covering the central areas as opposed to the wing. Moving on to the left back and the right back. On the left back, my more attacking minded fullback, we have him on balance attack and overlap. This is because the 4-2-3-1, although it's one of the wider narrow formations, it is still quite a narrow formation, and sometimes when we're going forward we just need that wider option to make the attack a bit more unpredictable and a bit more varied, because if your attack is always too narrow, it becomes very predictable, especially against a good opponent. So balanced attack and overlap means this player is going to join the attack and he's going to make the overlapping runs to add extra width. On the right back, the more defensive minded fullback, we have him on stay back while attacking and overlap. We have him on stay back while attacking, so he doesn't just constantly bomb forward, because we want him to stay back, so we always at least have 3 defenders back. And we have him on overlap because let's say I do trigger a run forward with him, we want him to make the overlapping runs instead of the inverted runs. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, I just leave them on default settings. But yeah guys, they're my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-3-1. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.